Hello viewers and welcome to Age of Wonders 3. I'm your host PPCC and welcome to a new Let's Play series. Now, one of the first things that I've got to say is by far, Age of Wonders 3 here is one of the most in-depth and content-packed turn-based strategy games out there right now, and I'm really rather excited to see how this really plays out and goes. So, one of the first questions that we really have to answer here is whether or not we want to, say, do a campaign, and as two, or whether or not we want to do, say, a scenario or a random map. And I think we'll do a random map because I've already tested this out once. So we'll play a game with 8 people, I suppose. That's the max you can have. We'll play on the lower difficulty, do a large-sized map, of course, on a continents map, and we'll just really go with that. Now, the interesting portion about the game is that every single aspect of the game is pretty much fully fleshed out, and what the developers have done is that they've realized this, and they actually give you 4 different modes that you can actually play the game on. So for example, if you want to take a look at the heroes and say the adventure part of the game, you can just put it on adventure mode. You can do more so the 4X stuff on empire building mode, and since there are these little tactical battles inside the game, and they're pretty well adjusted, you can actually do pretty much only the battles if you'd like, but I think we'll do a normal game just to show off all of the portions of that, and we'll just really begin like that. And the second really unique thing about the game is really how you choose your faction here. So instead of say in Civilization, or Endless Legends, the Let's Play that we've done recently, instead of picking out a faction from a list of them, instead you sort of make your own by designing a character, and what that really comes down to is choosing a class and a race for your guy, and picking out a few specializations. But the major thing is just the class and the race here. So we're gonna go with Human Dreadnought because that's the one that I really like, and what it essentially does is that it'll give you the bonuses coming from the human race, and it'll give you effectively the unit and playstyle of the Dreadnought class, which is really rather neat. So we'll customize this guy, and we'll just really see what this does. So the Dreadnought people, they are these they're like these steampunkish industrialist people inside this fantasy world, and they have muskets and guns and tanks and land ships and stuff, and it's really rather neat. And there's a few more things here as well. You can play as a druid and a rogue, a theocrat, a sorcerer, and stuff like that. But overall, I think the Dreadnought is the best one out there, so we'll go with that. And moving forwards, you have the option of specializing your guy in 3 different things. Now, all Dreadnoughts, because they're industrialists, they come with this Expanders one, and this is one that I keep. And now, these specializations, they don't do all too much. They more or less just pick out what your initial set of spells are and where you start off in. So for example, since this guy comes with 2 of these fire elemental traits, he's more likely to start off in, say, tropical areas, and if you pick the water one, you're more likely to start near water. How I like to do this is I just like to keep it as such, so I think we'll go with Expander's trait and the Adept of Fire and Mastery of Fire trait, and we'll really just begin the game like such. Now, yeah, like I said, a lot of different ways to customize the people inside the game, but I'm not gonna bother with it, just simply because it's quite time consuming, and yeah, just don't really want to waste an episode doing just that. So there we go, map is generated. We are Edward Portsmouth, a Human Dreadnought, and our rise to power begins. So here we go. This is our little town here. We are the people with the red banners, and if I zoom out, it looks like we started out in the middle of the map on the left bordering side, so that'll be good. And let's really just check out what is around us, and I just absolutely love this, how when you zoom out, it does this whole embroidered map type of thing, and when you zoom in, it's actually 3D. Yeah, the map is really rather neat like that. So yeah, we started out with one little town here, 2 units. We have Edward over here with his 6-unit army, and I believe the maximum you can have is 6, but you can have more units on the battlefield if you have multiple units or armies next to each other when the battle starts. So yeah, Edward Portsmouth, he leads a group of cavalry, some troops and such like that, and we have a single cavalry unit here. And how this game really works is that, I mean, we play as the red banner dudes here. There'll be some minor factions like the gray banner people here, and these are just effectively like barbarians and stuff and such like that. And of course, each and every single one of the 7 other factions get its own banner. But here, immediately when you start off one of these random games, you usually have one hero who wishes to join your side at your door, and this is this guy right here. So we'll make him an offer and we'll see how much it costs to hire him. So Pagyo, the bard here, is a level 1 rogue, and he wants to join us for 100 gold pieces, and the 3 different resources inside the game is gold income, mana income, gold to buy things, mana to buy more expensive things like cast spells, research, where knowledge points to research things, and casting points to cast spells again. So we have 300 gold. That's the amount that you really start off with, and I think I'll just hire this guy because he can then lead our guys as a scout, and or alternatively lead an army when he becomes more powerful. So here's all his stats. He has like a whole bunch of different traits, and he looks like he comes with like a nefarious blowpipe, which is kind of an interesting little thing. So anyhow, with these strategy games, I mean, we do have to do quite a little bit of scouting inside the early game, and I mean, inside this game, it's not that big of an issue because the maps are just hugely elaborate and hugely nicely looking. So I think I'll get my cavalry unit here to really just go out here and scout out this area. Looks like this might be a nice little area to produce a town. And I see a little specialty thing over here, and this stuff over here that looks like just crates and barrels and stuff and such is called production resources. And what it'll do is that it'll effectively add a free city building when we mouse over it, so that'll be very useful. We currently have like a little gold mine over here, produces more gold, a little mana node that produces more mana. And I think I'll get our rogue here to come over to here. I see the gold stash inside this wetlands. We'll claim that right away. 78 pieces of gold. That pretty much makes up for this guy, so that's good. And another one of these production resources. So that looks like that unlocked the blast furnace inside our capital over here, and that is a little thing that gives us a little bit more production, so that's good. And it also unlocks the cannon, or it unlocks, yeah, looks like it unlocks the ability to build the cannon, but I think we need one more building before we can actually build it, so that's kind of cool. Going from there, as you can probably tell, once we get moving around the map, we'll discover a ton of these nifty little buildings just lying about the sides, so it'll be really rather nifty to see what is here. Oh, and I see a refugee camp over here. So, looks like that's as far as we can move inside this one turn. That refugee camp will give us a little bit of more people for our city. Our town currently will take 8 turns to grow. It currently has 3,500 people inside it, so Fazberg only has that many people, but once we get that refugee camp, it'll add a few more people there. And in addition to that, it looks like we found a fire node, giving us more mana if we can take it away from these little draconian flamer people. I think we found a little, what is this, a great farm here. So yeah, this thing's also guarded by a few creatures and a little brigand hideout. Does income, and of course we have that. So yeah, really rather neat. So moving forwards, let's pick out a research. I'm going to move my mic slightly because it's blocking the side of my screen. So I mean, moving on, we can do a little bit of research here, and how this really works is that you research a combination of spells, such as, say, this one over here, the Summon Spy Drone one, and you also research a few of these, say, regular technologies such as Invention 1. So just to highlight you guys some of the more useful ones here, the ones that we can get right off the bat at a decent rate. Invention 1 here gives us the ability to cast more spells per turn, so that's kind of useful. This one I really like, Summon Spy Drone, because it allows us to produce a little unit that we can scout out the map with. Repair Fortification here is also pretty useful, but I think we'll just go with Research that spy drone thing, and that'll take 4 turns. I'll get my city just produce a few human civic guards because they're really rather cheap, and I would consider them a pretty spammable unit, so we'll do that. And we will just really end the turn like that. There we go. So a new day begins, and we have produced a unit of civic guard in our town. Town grew slightly. So yeah, it looks like we have 3825 population. It'll take 7 turns to grow. Cap off this little place. And that's down to 4 turns, so perfect. Really makes your towns expand a lot farther. And yeah, as you can tell, I mean, the game really plays out very smoothly like this. Turns are fast, everything goes nicely. I'm just going to explore what is around us right now, so do a little bit of that. Get another free little building here, a builder's hall, so perfect. This will generate more productivity inside this town. 20 more hammers is how it measures it, and it allows to build these human builder worker units. They're like the workers in Civilization, and a human settler unit, again, kind of like the settler unit in Civilization, where it allows to build, I believe, roads and cities and such like that. And yeah, we'll just really move our guys around a little bit more. I think I'll detach the 1 human cavalry unit from Edwards' 6-stack army over here. And those guys will go over the mountains, but they'll take up their time so they can explore like that. And we'll pull Edward back into our domain here. And yeah, once our population expands, our domain will expand. And the general idea behind it is that you want to find good locations to just sort of pluck down a city in which the domain can sort of occupy these like nifty little terrain features, because as you can see here, the gold mine generates that 10+ income for us, and that mana stash also does the same thing because they're inside our domain and they have our little red banner here. So, when this domain expands, again, I hope to kill this, what is this? This cockatrice and its little forces, so that we can use that great farm, which it looks like it'll give us plus 100 population per turn. So that'll be useful for expanding. Now, moving forwards, I want to see whether or not there are any people on our island here. It looks like it's the Arctic up here. A lot of spiders over here, though. What are these things, anyways? These are 2 more gold mines, and there's a magma forge here protected by a few dwarves, or 1 dwarf actually. Tier 3 dwarf infantry unit, so that guy's actually pretty tough. Our guys are like only tier 1 unit. We're tier 2 units right now, my mistake. Oh, I see a little gold stash over there. It's kind of neat. Over here, that's probably a mana stash. Yep, 93 mana. Oh, that's actually a lot. And I think this is pretty much the extent of our little island areas, for now at least. It's alright though, once we get that scouting unit, we'll be able to send that out to just sort of buzz around, and that'll definitely show us more of the terrain. I'm gonna get these guys to make camp because we're not using them right now. Get our scouts going forward, and we will just really proceed. So we'll nab that little gold pile. Oh, and perfect. We found a dungeon right away. So yeah, on the campaign map, there will be these little dungeon areas. And as you saw there, I mean, we do have the ability to give our characters different items. So if you explore that dungeon, it'll actually have a decent chance at giving us quite a few good little items, specialty legendary items to equip our heroes with, making that really rather nifty, but they are quite difficult, so we might do that dungeon later on. And this is another little thing here. This little bush is it's a bush of haste berries. It gives you a little bit of productivity, but the thing is that if you move your units onto it, it'll actually restore their movement capability for that turn. So for example, my cavalry unit has 36 units for movement. If I move it here, it's going to use up 16 units of it, but if I move it back on this hasteberry bush, now, it'll take 3 turns to restore, but my unit is back at 36, and these things are super useful, especially if they're like near roads, because the game does generate roads sometimes that are fairly close to other things. So yeah, and what's even better is that if you can find a whole big chain of them, you can just get your guys to ride this whole wave thing out for a little bit of time. So there we go. I mean, that should be 4 turns, and that will give us that spy drone tech, so that'll make scouting a little bit easier. Looks like we found a little casting catalyst, so that'll restore our casting points. That'll allow us to cast a little bit more spells per turn in the event that we run out of those points. And how that plays out is that you can cast battles in-game or in the battles and on the campaign map here, but it shares from the same pool of casting points, meaning that if you spend all your points casting spells in the battles, you won't be able to do it in the in the strategical map, say if you needed it to. So yeah, it does that. So here's our little book of spells for the campaign map. We can do mana cells or mana fuel cells, which will increase the production of a city by 20 hammer points, although it'll cost us 20 mana per turn. We can do Domain of the Sun, which turns a target-friendly city acts like a tropical or volcanic terrain. I'm not really sure what that does in particular. I know for a fact that like certain units and certain factions behave better on different types of terrain tiles, so maybe that's that. But I'm just going to cast Summon Spy Drone here, and it'll be ready inside 1 turn is what that says. I believe it used 300 or 30 mana, and yeah. Oh damn, I forgot to choose a new research that turn, but oh well. Oh, we can build an engineer now, so I think we'll do that. An engineer is a really cool unit that is exclusive for the Dreadnought class, so we'll do that. That'll take 3 turns, so it won't be that bad. And here we go. We can cast a spy drone now that it's been 1 turn, so I'll pluck it down near our town. And it is this little flying buzzing drone. It doesn't have a lot of health, it doesn't have a lot of armor, or attack for the matter, but it's a little suicide bomber actually. It does quite a little bit of damage when it blows up. And it's floating, so it can just sort of hover around tiles without suffering like the penalties for moving over mountains and stuff and such. So we'll just get that to buzz around and really check out what is around inside the seas. So yeah, it'll do that. Fazberg over here, looks like it turned into a fully fledged little town now instead of what was it before, an outpost perhaps? So it looks like it now encompasses this little great farm, and it looks like that big grand camp is starting to launch these guys out, some human scoundrels, some draconian scoundrels, and some dwarf scoundrels. So yeah, these are just different races, and they'll have their different bonuses and minuses. So humans are mariners, the draconian people, they're like lizard people, they have fire protection but frost weakness. The dwarves are mountaineering people, so they can move less. They have a different move cost for mountains, and they have night vision. There are caves inside the game and like dark places, so that is sort of that. So here's what we'll do. We have a lot of civic guards and longswordsmen. I'll get them to battle these scoundrels, and I'll get Edwards' main force to take over that camp. So let's go. Send those guys over there. And we'll just sort of start this battle. So I'll show you guys how the battles sort of play out. So yeah, as you may have noticed back there, it would appear as though you can only have 6 troops on the field, but I believe you can actually have more if you do put your armies adjacent to each other. The thing is that, yeah, you can have 6 occupy a single tile. During a battle, they will have more. I apologize because we did skip a little bit of the action here. I think all of these scoundrel types do have little crossbows, so they're opening up on us with those, and it's doing a slight amount of damage. So yeah, this is the tactical battle screen, and it has quite a lot of information here. So what is happening right now is that this is our line of troops, that is their line of troops. The area, if I select one of these troops, the little hex zone of yellow, orange, and green represent how much movement points they'll have afterwards that they move there. And if you want to retreat from the battles, there's also these like purple zones at the very edge of the map. So these battles are pretty in-depth just due to the fact that you have a ton of different weapons and there are a ton of different abilities for our troops here. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'll get our guys are mainly melee units is the thing. Our civic guards, they do have crossbows, but you can actually attack multiple times per turn inside this game. But yeah, these guys, their scoundrel units have light crossbows and melee strikes too. These civic guards are more so like cheapo units, so I'm not particularly sure if I want to send them in the fray. Evidently this guy is crippled, so he has less movement, and I assume one of those guys have some sort of crippling bow. They also have this sabotage damage attack. Ooh, and a sprinting command too. Huh. Well, here's what I think I'll do. I'll get my longswordsmen to move forwards. Keep them as a big group. I'll get my guys to move forward slightly, I suppose. Shoot these guys with their bows. And these bows will actually do damage based on range, the little terrain features blocking them. And yeah, see right here. Those guys are hiding behind that little tree stump over there, so it gives us a negative 75% line of sight penalty, and by default, I mean, because that is at maximum range, it already has a negative 50 point penalty. So what I think I'll do here is that I'll get my guys to actually scurry around the back, and I want to hit them from behind. And flanking attacks inside this game do massive damage, so that is also a nifty little thing. Looks like we can still fire. We still have some movement points, so I can still shoot the bows a little bit.